So my game lens is the Meaningful Choice game lens, and the game I decided to use is Undertale. So Undertale is an RPG created by Toby Fox in 2015. In it, you are a child traversing a world with many monsters. This world is called the Underground, and these monsters are waiting to escape the Underground. The game received acclaim for its gameplay, story, and music. So the main game mechanic of Undertale. So Undertale is not a typical RPG in that typical RPGs reward you for killing enemies and they encourage you. However, this game allows you to spare enemies and bosses, and it encourages you to choose this route of sparing enemies and bosses. So, in typical RPGs, you gain experience in levels. You still can do that in Undertale, however, you're encouraged not to. So why is this game mechanic considered meaningful choice? Well, the game mechanic affects combat and the general difficulty of the game. It affects the stories and what happens to the characters in the game, especially the bosses that the player tries to take on. And it affects the tone of the game and how it is presented to the player due to its actions. So how does this mechanic affect gameplay? Well, if you kill enemies, it plays like a typical RPG in that you gain XP and levels. As you continue, you can also gain weapons that allow you to kill enemies easier. However, if you spare enemies, it's generally harder in that you're not going to gain experience and you're not going to use the weapons that you gain. So it's generally across the board, it's going to be a harder experience. Not too hard, but still harder than just defeating enemies the normal way. On the other hand, though, the genocide route is generally extremely easy in that, well, since you're going to be killing every monster, then you're going to gain much experience. However, it has extremely hard bosses, which is also a deterrent from doing the genocide route. The mechanic also affects the story of the game. So, while it may seem easier to kill enemies, these actions have many consequences. When enemies are killed, NPCs will react and start to be scared of you. This is also true for bosses, as when these characters die, others will react. And these factors result in very different endings. So to give more explanation on the story of the game and how the mechanic affects it, let's talk a little bit about the routes of the game. So the pacifist route is the route where you spare every single monster and it is the generally harder route. However, the game rewards you for going through this generally hard route by giving the player and the characters a happy ending. The neutral route, however, gives the characters a neutral ending because, well, you still killed monsters, but you didn't kill too many monsters, so you didn't have enough effect on the game world. So the game gives characters a neutral ending. The genocide route, however, since you killed all of the monsters in the game, it has a very dark ending, which is suitable for your actions and consequences. Finally, let's talk about how the game mechanic affects the tone of the game. In the pacifist route, the characters are generally nicer to you in that the game is peaceful and the characters, they seem to like you, and you get to see a lot of the characters and the NPCs and all of their personalities. However, in the neutral route, it's actually very similar to the pacifist route. However, since you killed some of the monsters, some of the NPCs in the overworld will start to be scared of you and start to think that you may not be this nice person. However, in the genocide route, there none of the monsters are out in the towns or anywhere because they're all scared of you, and they think, since they know of your actions, they know to run away from you, and that's why you don't see any of the NPCs out in the overworld.